Borodin's piece is the perfect preface for our guest soloist, Kinan Azmeh. Kinan's Suite for Improviser and Orchestra takes us on a far from typical Silk Road journey. He combines his Syrian roots with his global experience to create a unique atmosphere that I find totally beguiling, at times haunting and full of unbelievable energy. I had a chance to catch up with Kinan via Zoom. Welcome, Kinan.
Thank you very much, Alastair. Thank you.
So great to have you here. You know, you have performed all over the world, all the top orchestras, all the top conductors. You're an award-winning musician, including a Grammy Award. And I guess our connection is through the Silk Road Ensemble.
During my life in New York, I met so many people from the Silk Road Ensemble. You know, in evening, like unofficial jam sessions, in school, and you name it, everywhere in the New York music scene. So when I joined the ensemble, I was surrounded by many people who were friends already. And so I joined the ensemble in 2012. And the excuse for me to join was there was a new commission by the wonderful British-American composer David Bruce. And he was commissioned to write a piece that features the clarinet, you know, with a big role. Right. And I was chosen to be that clarinetist, which was wonderful.
How exciting. And there was no turning back after that.
Nope.
So you mentioned that you've studied, you lived in New York, but you studied at Juilliard, is that right?
That's right, yes.
So you have a classical training in the clarinet.
Yes, I started actually my education back in Damascus when I was 7. That's when I started playing the clarinet in Syria, where I grew up. And you know, I did all, you know, I learned my Bach, Brahms, Mozart growing up. But also I was exposed at an early age to non-classical music, if I can, you know, describe it as such. My mom loved Arabic music. My dad loved classical music. So, you know, I wanted to make them both happy. So I was interested in all of that. Finished high school, went to university in Damascus. I studied both at the Higher Institute of Music, studying classical clarinet playing. But also I got a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Damascus.
Gosh.
And then I moved to New York to pursue my higher education. So I went to Juilliard. And then after that, I did my doctorate at the City University of New York. So yes, I'm sorry, this is a long way to answer your question. My background is classical, but I do lots of non-classical activities. I think, you know, I think improvisation is a major part in every music making activity you can imagine. Like, you know, even in the classical world, when people say classical music is rigid, I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think we just would like sometimes to describe it as such, but you know, Mozart was a wonderful improviser, and Bach was as well, and that's where I see the similarities between the different musics I do. Arabic music and music from that part of the world, certainly there are lots of emphasis on improvisation. Improvisation in that sense of, you know, composing on the spot, you know, but in the meantime, it's composing. You know, how you use the modes you're using, how you work with rhythm, everything. This is also composing. I like to think of composition as improvisations, but also improvisation as composition. So, yeah, I enjoy both lines equally.
We're going to perform your piece, and you've written many pieces. This piece is the Suite for Improviser. So you have mini cadenza moments or improvising moments throughout this piece, but you also draw on your classical and your New York backgrounds. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. You know, I wrote this piece because I like to improvise, I like to compose, I like to play the clarinet. So I thought, okay, let me write a piece that will fit what I want. So it's tailor-made for me, but I'm always happy to have other people play it, of course. It's in 3 movements. And the 3 movements come from 3 different stories, actually. The first movement is titled Love on 139th Street in D. And this is an homage to a neighbor that I've never met. I lived on 139th Street in Harlem, New York, off Broadway. And we had a neighbor who lived in the 1st floor, and we were on the 4th floor, who used to play reggaeton and merengue 24/7. So for 7 years of me living in Harlem, I you know, went to bed, woke up, hearing the tung, tung, ting, tung, ting, ting, tung. You know, this was my life. I never met the guy. Every time I play this piece, I'm wishing that maybe he's sitting in the audience, not knowing how he influenced my life. And the first time I sat down to write a piece after I moved to New York, I wanted to write something inspired by, you know, my background and my, you know, my original home, and the music of the neighbor like crept into the piece I was writing. So this is like a kind of homage to Harlem where I lived. The second movement, titled November 22nd, was written after I was invited for the first time to a Thanksgiving dinner. I was hosted by this wonderful family outside of DC. And it was tricky because it was the first time that I felt at home away from home. And those of us who have, like, relocated places, you realize how tricky that is, because you wonder, is it okay to feel at home elsewhere? Am I betraying my original home if I feel at home in another place? And with that thought, I was writing the piece. The piece is inspired by Damascus, specifically by a marketplace that used to exist behind my parents' place back in the city. And it had a steady rhythm to it. Almost, I think similar to how life is. Life has a steady rhythm regardless of our emotions about it. So that's the second movement. The third movement is inspired by the mood and the setting one can find in a Syrian village wedding. These are the types of weddings where everybody is invited because they take place at the public square. I always like to joke that these are the weddings where you cannot disinvite anybody. Right. People show up, they are expected to eat, but also they are expected to listen to some music. And the musicians show up usually, and there's no playlist of sort. They play whatever they like, sometimes depending on how many drinks they had over the night. So I'm trying to capture that mood.
We can't wait to hear you and to host you here.
Thank you very much, Alastair. Thank you. I'm really looking forward. I always feel every time I play for a new audience in a new city, I'm expanding my concept of home a little bit. So I know that I'm already going to an extension of home. So thank you very much for having me.
I love it. See you soon.
See you soon.